Joining us now for more insight is Einar Tangen, a political and economic commentator live from Beijing. Thanks for joining us. So tell us, these new cases have yet again been traced back to a meat market in Beijing. What precautions are being taken and what does this really say about China's handling of the outbreak, since many sectors of the economy were already being allowed to open?
Well, this is a relatively small incident. There was one before, about 3 weeks ago in Chaoyang, a young man who had come from abroad, a Chinese. He went out to celebrate with friends in Chaoyang district, and unfortunately he was still symptomatic, was able to spread it to them. But after 2 days, they were able to isolate it. They tracked everybody down. Everybody who had been in contact with him was put into isolation, and there's been no consequences in that area since. Now, this involves, yes, a market, but they don't know exactly when. But, you know, as you can see, 10,000 tests within the immediate area, everybody in the market. They have a very robust tracking program, so they do very well. It's been 53 days since there's been any serious outbreak in Beijing. So they're taking things very cautiously, but so far, if you start looking at the numbers, they've done very, very well.
Right. Now we know that a state of wartime emergency has been declared, and now there is also a fear that a second surge of infections may follow. So what does this wartime emergency entail?
Well, I think that was something that was said by the district. Now, I wrote a book about Fangtai. I know it very well. It's the center of the wholesale market for both vegetables, fruits, also meats. And obviously there was some issue there. Now in the United States and many other places where they have people working in close proximity, especially to meats, you know, all the abattoirs in the U.S. have had problems. So right now they're just trying to concentrate on what it is and figure out how to stop it. There's always been a concern about a second wave.
Now, what measures is the government taking to contain the second wave of infections? Since all these new cases are asymptomatic, it does raise fresh concerns about contact tracing as well as isolation methods.
Yes, so far they don't know. There are people who are showing up as asymptomatic, and they're not shedding the virus. But you never know when that could change. It could be a situation where people kind of harbor the virus inside themselves, showing no symptoms, and then at some point there's an incident where they start to shed. So little is known about this virus. I mean, every day they're learning new things. There are new theories about it and new attempts to solve it. But the Chinese government has been, I think, fairly responsible. And if you start looking at their stats compared to the stats of the countries of the rest of the world, I don't think there's any conclusion you can reach except that they've been very careful and very proactive.
Right. Now, we know there are a lot of theories about the origins of this virus in the first place, and now it seems to suggest that, yet again, it's been linked to a meat market and live strains of the virus have been found on chopping boards. So can we say anything about the origins of this virus in the first place?
I'm not a scientist, and speculation at this point, it just leads to kind of fear and panic. The fact is that they discovered it on these chopping boards. They immediately closed the market. They're trying to figure it out as well. I mean, we haven't heard anything other than at this point that this could somehow be spread from you know, meats and things like that. Now, we're not talking about bat meat or anything like that. This is simply poultry, in this case, salmon. And they're not quite certain why. So they're going to figure it out. And then when they know, they will release these results to the U.S., to the rest of the world, as they have done before. I mean, this is a joint effort. This is a common enemy. This is not about nations going to war with each other or trying to seek advantage.
Right. All right, Einar, thank you so much for joining us and for all your inputs.